Don't miss the inaugural All-American Cup Team Tennis Tournament, presented by Thomas J. Henry, at the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas, November 11 through 13. The All-American Cup features 10 top men's U.S. players competing on 2 teams, East versus West, each captained by the greatest tennis doubles team of all time, Mike and Bob Bryan. You don't want to miss this. Brother versus brother, East versus West, best versus best. Tickets on sale now at allamericantenniscup.com.
All right. Speaking of that game, Mallory, let's just get right into our games of the week.
You should have guessed it. The first one we're going to talk about, TCU playing Baylor this Saturday at 11 a.m. You can watch it on Fox. TCU coming in as only 3-point favorites, and the over-under is set at 57.5. To me, this game and rivalry feels like it doesn't matter how good or how bad the other team really is. It's going to be close.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a dogfight. You know, that's just kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Throw out the records. The last 4 games have been decided by an average of 6.25 points per game. So this one's going to be a close one. The line suggests that. Baylor's at home. And they just got beat 31-3 by Kansas State.
Yeah. They're ready to come back and storm
this
it.
This is a show that you're not that team type of game, right? Everybody's counting us out. TCU's on the way to a national championship game. We just got our brains beat in. Let's go spoil some stuff. Right. Like, let's go. Like I just mentioned, TCU did this to Baylor last year, where TCU upset Baylor and almost ruined their shot at a Big 12 championship game. So, yeah, I agree with Mallory. Throw all that out the window. For me, this comes down to the trenches.
Yeah.
The defense that can stop the other team's running game is going to win this football game, because as much as we talk about Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson in that passing game, Kendre Miller in that offensive line is what makes TCU go. TCU was struggling to move the ball until they were able to find that big run for Kendre Miller, and then they were able to run the clock out with that 4-minute offense late against Texas. Baylor last week got behind early and couldn't use that running game. They only ran the ball 23 times last week against Kansas State. So I'd imagine we see a lot of Richard Reese. We see a lot of Squirrel Williams. We see a lot of Kendre Miller on the other side, and both of these teams try to establish the line of scrimmage and just out-physical the other one.
Yeah. More on Baylor a little bit. That was probably, outside of maybe Oklahoma State his first year, that was easily the worst loss of Dave Aranda's tenure so far at Baylor. Just in terms of beatdown of what the program is, because that you could make the argument, and it's a good argument, that first year Oklahoma State was kind of ascending to where they were last year, and Baylor was obviously in a massive rebuilding phase. And so I think they lost like 42-3 or 42-0 or something like that in that game. So, like, okay, you can throw that out, right? Then now you're more or less a fully fledged Dave Aranda program.
Year 3.
Yeah, and you still had everything to play for, and you just get your face put in the dirt, right?
At home.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I definitely think that that's going to play a huge factor into this game. Dave Aranda mentioning how we need to have a counterpunch. If somebody punches in the face, not being that team to back down, because again, that hadn't happened to them before, right? Where they just get absolutely outclassed in every phase of the game like last week. Of course, TCU still has everything to play for too, right? They're now they got past their first big hurdle, right? Texas, national TV, game day, all that stuff. Boom. Now it's like, okay, now can they continue that momentum, right? That's kind of been the question when November was approaching, was obviously the November Sunny thing, but just national title expectation, or not expectations, but aspirations now, right? Now that conversation's real. It's no longer, oh man, that'll be cool to get in. It's like, no, you're in. You're in if you win out. So managing that now, because you're already in, and the other thing is you're already in the Big 12 title game too, right? So yeah, it is managing those aspirations now. So I agree. I think TCU pulls it out, just because I do think that next level of firepower that they do have, even if, we were questioning Quentin Johnson's health, he looks pretty damn healthy after last week. I think clicking on all cylinders, this TCU team just has too much for this Baylor team right now, mainly because of the setback on defense that this Baylor team has taken in its phases of the game.
And Max Duggan is better than Blake Shapen right now.
Sure.
And so if
100%.
the running games wash each other out, I give me Max Duggan to have a better game.
100%. What's next?
Let's move on to Ish's game of the week. SMU playing at Tulane this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN. Tulane coming in as 3-point favorites. The over-under set at 65.
This will
be a good one.
At halftime of last week, I would have picked SMU to roll, because Tulane was looking outclassed by UCF for a lot of that game. And then they absolutely stormed back, made it a game, lost by only a touchdown. And it was like, oh, okay, they weren't like the stage wasn't too big for Tulane. Tulane's legit. So now, kind of going back to Tulane a little bit because I think UCF maybe just caught them off guard a little bit to start the game last week. I think Gus Malzahn just had a really good game plan going in, and that just ended up winning out. I desperately worry about this SMU defense against this just because I feel like eventually it's got to catch back up to them again, right? You can score 77 against Houston, right, and get it done when your defense is garbage. I don't think you can do it against a South Florida team that isn't as talented as you. Tulane looks like they're more talented. Looks like they play all three phases of the game. Maybe not offense as better than you, but definitely not bad. They have a pretty good defense. Their running game's pretty good, which is the kind of been the unsung hero of this SMU's offense past couple of weeks. I worry about this game a lot because Tulane definitely looks like the real deal when it comes to the AAC.
I was surprised Tulane's only a 3-point favorite at home.
Yeah.
Because that suggests it's pretty much a pick 'em game
right.
in a lot of people's mind. SMU's playing really good football. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They scored 77 points on Houston, as we talked about. They were a little sloppy in the first half last week against South Florida and played a really good second half. What gives me hope if I'm SMU is the balance they're starting to get on offense. Mm-hmm. This is no longer we got to throw the ball 50 times. Tanner Mordecai or Preston Stone's got to do everything. Rasheed Rice has to catch 13 passes or we have no chance. With Tyler Levine and then the emergence of Kamar Wheaton to kind of be the lightning to the thunder there, what Ulysses Bentley was for that offense last year, really opens things up. I think I'm to a point where I just believe in Rhett Lashley's ability to score points.
Sure.
Like just everywhere he's gone. That's why look at what Miami's offense looks like now, for example.
Right,
And then just digging through some numbers at SMU, you forget how good that 2019 offense was that he engineered. Like they have every single record basically in school history that year. Because I was trying to see where Rasheed Rice kind of landed in that because he's having such a great year. And every record you find for SMU is 2019. So I'm on the SMU can score points train. Tanner Mordecai's looked excellent. But like Ish, that SMU defense, specifically the back end, scares me to death. I guess it's hard to believe in SMU when they're that leaky defensively. They haven't played a team in a while that could take advantage of that, and the one that they did was Houston, who couldn't stop anybody either.
Right.
And so if Tulane can get a few stops, it feels like SMU's defense is going to be hard-pressed to match them that way. It's going to need to be Tanner Mordecai, Rasheed Rice, and that offense outscoring Tulane, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tulane is a team that, under Willie Fritz, they used to be kind of just a running team, right? Now they're just a really good running team that has a reliable passing game with Michael Pratt now, who I believe is in his third year as a starter, third year, something like that. He's been really good. They still have everything to play for as well because if they win out, I think they get Cincinnati, so they still have technically their ticket to punch the AAC title game. Obviously, took a step back last week, so now they're in kind of a no more mistakes, right? Yeah. They have to keep going, so that's what I worry about a little bit. SMU bowl eligible, right? Their first line goal was checked, right? They doused Rhett Lashley with the water last week. I'm not saying they're going to give up, but the hard part's over for them, right? And now Tulane definitely still has everything to play for, in addition to being the more well-rounded team. So yeah, that's what worries me.
Our last game of the week, and it's mine. I picked it like 2 minutes ago. I don't know if it's going to be that good, but Texas Tech playing at Iowa State this Saturday at 4 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN3. Iowa State coming in as 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 48.
In Mallory's defense, it is a light week.
Sure,
it is not a heavy lifting week. That is the closest line spread of any of the other games remaining.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's a really important game for Texas Tech, right? They're one win away from reaching bowl eligibility. Say what you want about Oklahoma, but you don't want to go into the final game of needing to beat Oklahoma, who is more talented than you are, no matter what is happening under Brent Venables. So, and then also, they're 0-4 on the road.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to go 0-5 on the road your first year as a head coach, right? Go win a road game. Prove that you can. Carry some momentum into the offseason. Have some proof of concept. And so if you go winless on the road, that's going to draw some questions like, hey, do we need to mix some stuff up here? Do we need to figure out what we do in terms of our schedule on the road? If you can go and beat an Iowa State team, then you look at it and go, okay, well, all our best opponents were just happened to be road games, and we lost
Yeah.
them because they were on the road. You know,
Sure.
they're all ranked teams. And so I think it's important for Texas Tech from a culture-building first-year standpoint
Yes.
to keep checking off boxes. And the one that they have remaining is bowl eligibility and road game win. They can check both of those boxes in one game if they can go on a road and beat a beatable Iowa State team.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%. I agree. I think you look at the other thing that's still on the table that I think would be, it's not something to necessarily motivate the team for, but I think would be a nice boon for the administration and McGuire. If you go out and you win 7 games in the regular season, the year after you fire Matt Wells, right, after making a call when they were looking like they were probably going to win 6, 7 games last year, right, you made that call for the future. If you go out and just get that one win improvement in the regular season, okay, step in the right direction immediately, right? You automatically get that instant validation that wasn't a guarantee, right? We thought maybe 5, 6 wins this year, which, okay, you're making a play for the future. But if you had that immediate success, okay, now everybody's feeling happy, right? Everybody's feeling that way. So, yeah.
Because that out-of-conference schedule is much harder this year.
Sure.
You know,
100%.
so
yeah. And so, yeah, I think I like this game of the week pick because it is like it's a good vibe check game, right? Are the vibes good in Lubbock right now, and could they get better? And also, speaking of vibes, team that could need some vibes is Iowa State right now. They're still playing for a bowl too. So
Yeah,
they have something to play for.
Yeah, they only have 4 wins, and they've got 2 more games left. So they got to win out to be able to make a bowl game.
And then one more little nugget. Texas Tech can quietly finish with a winning record in Big 12 play if they win out here, if they beat Iowa State and Oklahoma. Anybody know who the head coach was the last time Texas Tech finished with a winning record in the Big 12?
Was it Leach?
Mike
Kingsbury?
Leach.
Man, I was about to say, Kingsbury did
It's
not.
been
Yeah.
over a decade.
Man,
Jeez.
so there's, like I said, there's talk about a vibe check. You want the party to be
You want to
going-
show improvement?
Yeah.
you want to party into the offseason? We saw
Right.
what McGuire did just by stepping on campus last offseason.
Right.
Now he all of a sudden can say most successful season in conference since Mike Leach. Give him that torch to light,
Yep.
and
Yep.
he is running with it. So,
Yep.
yep.
All right, let's get in the wide zone.
It's my idea.
I was about to say that, but I figured I'd be nice to you today. Texas A&M hosting UMass
Oh, speed of vibes check.
this Saturday at 11 a.m. on SEC Network. Texas A&M coming in as 33.5-point favorites. The over/under set at 47. Who thinks Texas A&M is going to score 33 points? Who thinks Texas A&M is going to score more than 23 points? Does Vegas know?
You know
Has
what?
Vegas watched this
Fair
team
enough.
consistently
Yeah, I
this
mean, Vegas has this at about a 40-7 game. You know, with
Where
the
are those
33 and a
points?
half and the
Yeah,
47
yeah.
over, they're basically predicting A&M to score about 40 points. I think I'm with Mallory.
Where are you looking?
I don't know where.
I see 28-3.
I mean, I guess Devon Achane can touch the ball a million times, you know.
I mean, they
but
played an FCS team and they scored a
31.
little over 30 points.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
it's
true.
like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't see it. I
Sam
don't see
Houston
it.
might beat UMass, though.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah,
might
Sam
be
Houston's
better team.
pretty good,
You know,
but yeah.
especially at that point, they've been redshirting. Anyway, I'm gonna turn this into a sub FBS podcast here. Let me just talk about Sam. I mean, it's a get right game for A&M, right? This is
100%,
just
yeah.
like a pad your stats, make everybody feel good.
Invite
you
the
know,
recruits out.
yeah.
Hey, guys, remember, we
Right.
can win games. Like,
Right.
please.
You know, you just
Stay.
snap that 6-game losing streak so
Yep.
people can stop talking about that. But really, there's not much interesting here to talk about
No.
in this game or with A&M. All eyes go to the offseason and how many people they lose in the transfer portal.
Yep, literally. UMass is bottom of the nation in basically everything. So the good thing is, the one thing that UMass does well is they defend the pass well. Good thing A&M ain't gonna be looking to do that. So there you go. There's a positive for you.
Let's just move on from this because it's not. UTSA hosting Rice this Saturday at 12 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN+. UTSA coming in as 13-point favorites. The over/under is set at 61. Is this a low spread to you, Craven? Should
Yeah.
UTSA be favored by more?
Yeah, probably.
too?
Probably.
Oh, I
Especially,
guess they're at Rice
especially
now.
if we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback, if it's going to be TJ McMahon, if they're going to go the backup. They played 2 quarterbacks last week in that loss. They both threw 2 interceptions. So I'm not sure the health, of McMahon and what's going on there. That'll probably be talked about later in the week. That's kind of the tough part about recording this a day early.
Sure.
A lot of that stuff kind of comes
Right.
out by Wednesday morning, but yeah, I think the trepidation for UTSA is, do they rest some people?
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
they've guaranteed their spot into Conference USA championship game. It's not like they're playing for an undefeated season or a record or a poll or anything like that. They're just trying to win conference, right? It's a lot like high school where you're just trying to win your district. And so do they rush some guys this week? They don't get a secondary bye like North Texas gets because they didn't play in week 0. So do they use some of that? Rice absolutely has more to play for because, as we've mentioned many a times, they got to steal one either this week or next week to get to 6 wins and get that bowl invite. What gives me – I hope's the wrong word, but the reason that I don't think UTSA is going to stub their toe in a way that they did maybe last year is they're deeper at the running back position. Kavorian Barnes coming on has been probably the biggest storyline for UTSA this year because we all knew what Frank Harris was going to be.
Sure.
And we all thought that defense was going to be middle of the pack, upper echelon for Conference USA standards, but not a dominant defense that it was at times last year because they lost Clarence Hicks and then Rashad Wisdom got injured. But we did not know what the running game was going to look like. We had no idea what the running game was going to look like. And Barnes is averaging 7 yards a carry in Conference USA, and he's becoming an all-conference type level running back as a freshman. And so that balance, usually your running game travels and your running game handles adversity and games where maybe you sleepwalk into. Timing can get messed up in the passing game. A couple drops can happen. You can look sloppy there. But for the most part, you can put the ball in your running back's stomach and tell him to run forward for 5 yards and go beat a team. Rice is beat. That defense is bad. So if you're UTSA, you just win the turnover battle.
Yep. I was about to say, in a vacuum, against anybody really, because Rice has not been able to control a game for a full game, and as we saw against Charlotte, that team where we expected that, right? The opposite happened. They need to play a closer game. The problem is UTSA is not the opponent. One, that's going to probably get caught in a close game against a Rice this year. But two, they win those anyway. And so, the one avenue that I see for Rice is this is not the opponent you need to have that again. You need to do that
because the recipe for UTSA is you just beat them up.
Yeah.
Like the way North Texas got them last year at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? You just line up and you just out physical them.
Maybe in the rain.
In
the
the
rain
rain,
plays
the
a factor,
cold.
right? So, yes, exactly.
They're like, what is this?
Yeah, UTSA is like,
this?
what is happening right now?
What is falling from the
and,
sky?
And UNT's like, our game.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
That's true. The dome can get nice. The dome can get nice. It's always
What is
72
this thing
degrees
falling
in there.
on us?
But Rice
Yeah.
isn't built that way.
No, exactly.
No.
No.
You think of a Mike Bloomgren team and you think that it might be.
Sure.
But it's not.
No.
It's not that type of team. It's more of an explosive offense, score some points. The defense is going to let some plays happen type deal. You're not going to outscore UTSA.
Right.
You know, like over time.
You need to line up and punch UTSA
right.
in the mouth.
You're going to have to beat them
and-
20-13.
Basically.
Not 40-38.
Yep.
Let's look at an American matchup. Houston playing East Carolina this Saturday at 1 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN+. East Carolina coming in as 6-point favorites. The over-under, 67.
I'm terrified of this game.
Had I
good
terrified, shoot.
I'm terrified of this game.
Houston's a 6-point dog to East Carolina. That's all we have to say about the state of Houston Cougar football compared to what we thought it was going to be coming into the year.
East Carolina.
Listen, East
Carolina's
Carolina.
6 wins.
Yeah.
6-win team.
East Carolina has done a pretty damn good job under
Yeah.
Mike Houston.
Yes.
And that's why I'm terrified of this game.
Oh, no, they're going to win.
They're going to win this game because of that. When he first took that job, I think it mentioned on Split Zone Duo where Mike Houston it was a weird situation where he took the Charlotte job from James Madison, basically reneged and
Didn't get off the runway.
Basically, yes. ECU opened up. He's like, deuces.
Yeah.
That's the better job. But this is why, right? Charlotte firing Will Healy and East Carolina being a 6-point favorite over Houston with the talent pool that they have. Listen, Houston, yes, is the more talented team on paper. East Carolina is not a badly or under like they're a talented team. That Carolina talent pool,
it's better than people think.
Yes, absolutely. It is very, very fertile. And
stomped UCF.
Yes, exactly. They were right there with Cincinnati.
Beat
They stomped
BYU.
UCF. They are right there. ECU.
Memphis.
This could get bad. I'm worried. I don't think it will. I think they'll win. I think ECU will win, and it'll be competitive. But this is a game where if Houston does not, if they have a stumble early, like we've seen, that could get bad because ECU is not that bad of a team to where Houston's going to be able to probably in the second half make it a lot closer than they made some of those games look early in the year. This is a team that could possibly beat you by double digits if you let this get off to a slow start.
I mean, if Clayton Tune and Nathaniel Dell don't have a big game, Houston could lose 42-10.
Easily.
Yeah, and Houston's on the road again too, so it doesn't help.
I mean, it's going to be like they're just going to have to score with them, like the SMU Houston. You know, like
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
think like
They just got to keep
East
up,
Carolina's
yeah.
not going to score 77 points.
Right,
That's not how they're built.
exactly.
But like they're going to score 40.
I was about to say
The way Houston plays defense,
like
and so
35 to 10's on the table.
right. And so if Clayton Tune and the offense doesn't, hold serve and keep up with them, this thing could get ugly in a hurry. And where Houston is as a program, they'll fold.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Big 12. Texas playing Kansas this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. You can watch it on FS1. Texas coming in as 9-point favorites. The over-under is set at 64. To me, this feels like a get-right game for Texas. Like, they're going to come
they
and
hope.
just squash Kansas.
You think so?
I think so. I really do. I feel like they need it. And
I could see it because the meme of Kansas beating Texas, like obviously Kansas is better than last year, but I feel like Texas has had like that, like they've had like night sweats of like Kansas beating Texas all year long.
Yeah.
So it would not stop.
That's a good point.
I don't know if they're going to come out and stomp Kansas. I think they'll win. But I
think
do
they're
think they've
back
like
from-
a lot of these players have been like, we cannot lose to Kansas again,
Kansas.
even though Kansas is a good team this
Yeah.
year. I really think they're like, no, this is going to be like the Iowa State game for them. It was like, no. Brees Hall said, what about 5 stars last year, right?
And Iowa State almost beat them.
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. So Iowa State almost beat. So I think it'll be
In
a
Austin.
competitive win.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of. Sark basically talked all about the offense at the press conference today. I was watching in, understandably so, but he was basically like, we got to figure it out, which, yes, that's the route to winning this game because the defense, I think, will be fine. I think if you can force Jason Bean at some turnovers, I think he's capable of that. The offense has shown to be explosive, but if they're not getting those explosive plays, I think they can be reeled in a bit.
Do you
but
think
you're gonna need to be just clicking on offense?
Do you
in
think
any
we'll
way.
see Hudson Card kind of implemented into the offense a little bit? I think Quinn
Curious.
Ewers is still going to start, but
I'm
I wonder
curious.
if we'll see a little bit more of Hudson Card kind of sprinkled in here and there
I
just
think
to
you get-
see how
If
he
I was
looks.
a Texas fan,
you
I'd
know?
be furious if I do.
I know.
Like at this point, you just can't.
You think so?
Because like if you're going to now, why didn't you
Right,
when
last
games-
Last
when
week,
games
the
were on
week
the
before.
line?
Right,
Like
right.
against Oklahoma State, against TCU, you didn't like. I feel like you've tipped your hand.
Let's put it
Right.
this way: if they were in Austin this week, I'd say give Ewers a quarter. If they were in Austin and Ewers is still off and fans are, then it's like, all right, you go in there,
Throw him
right?
in there.
Now it's like, I don't know. There's not going to be that shower of booze and all that. It's not going to be like a mental game with him as much.
Are we talking about if he struggles or just like?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
That's kind
okay.
of what I
I
meant.
thi-
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought we were just like,
Like, if we
gonna
saw
give
how he
Hudson
did-
a series or two.
No. I
Yeah.
think I agree with her.
Yes,
I think if he
that's-
starts,
that's what I
if
meant.
Ewers
Okay.
starts, if
Yeah.
he struggles, then I think there's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
at
we
some
didn't
point
see it
there's
last
got
week.
at some point there's got to be a hook.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
there just
saying.
has to
He's
be.
not untouchable.
There just has
Right.
to
He
be.
can't be
Unless
untouchable.
they sign some kind of like devil pact behind. I have no. At some point.
Kombucha devil sponsor.
Right, at some point, I almost made a really bad. We're not live, so I could. But at some point, you got to put team in front of individual.
Sure.
And you could argue that Oklahoma State game that it was his first bit of adversity, his first road game.
Right.
You got to count on the kid, but. This would be week 4 in a row of very mediocre play if it continued. And so eventually you got to just say, hey, man, come sit next to me. This is what it is. This is big boy football. This is not, I'm not holding your hand.
Right.
Right.
So there's got to be consequences for poor play, or why do you need to get better?
I mean, if you can't perform well under pretty much no stress or anything, everything's swinging in your side. You got recruits on the sidelines. I mean, why are you gonna play well against Kansas?
The
you
reason
know?
I don't
know.
worry about this game as much as I think I would otherwise is that defense is playing so well that I assume they're going to keep Texas in this game for long enough for Bijan Robinson and Xavier Worthy and just Jatavion Sanders. Just the overall talent of Texas will overcome if the defense is – see, what happened last year is it becomes a shootout.
Sure.
And at that point, it's just like who has the ball, where's the ball bounce right, who has the best play calls. But if your defense is playing well, you can wait out the offense in an upset bid.
And the other thing is, like last week, we saw Bijan Robinson get shut down by a good TCU
he's gonna
front
get 30
seven.
touches.
I was about to say he's going to get because Kansas' defense is not good.
No.
Right there, they can get got. So yes, this is a get right game for Quinn Ewers. Absolutely. If he struggles, I do think we'll see Hudson Card. If he doesn't, I think he'll play the whole game. But also, Bijan Robinson, 20, 25, 30 touches. Get out of there.
Definitely. All right, let's switch to Conference USA now. UTEP playing FIU this Saturday at 3 p.m. If you want, you can watch on ESPN+. Oh, there's better games on, I think. UTEP coming in as 14-point favorites. The over-under set at 51.
The vibes are dire.
Come on, UTEP. You got to beat this awful
another
team.
vibe check game. The vibes need improvement in El
Yes,
Paso.
yes, they do.
Yeah.
This one's bad.
God help Dana
FIU.
Dimmel if
Yeah.
they don't win this one.
You're playing a bunch of high schoolers, basically.
Right,
with
a bunch
FIU.
of children.
Yeah.
And you're a JUCO team. And, as much as UTEP struggles in the Eastern time zone, this is a long trip for FIU.
Yeah,
And,
that's a good
Miami, compared to El Paso, a little bit different.
Yeah. You want to know something? You don't want. I will say, the thing that worries me about UTEP, FIU's also 2 wins away from a bowl.
Yeah.
And their schedule is
Who
much
have they
easier.
Who has FIU beat?
They've beaten. Well, bring it up. Have it up. So they beat Bryant. Sure, first game of the year in overtime. They beat New Mexico State. They beat Charlotte, La Tech, and that's it. So they have UTEP and Middle Tennessee coming up.
Okay.
Again, winnable is grading on a curve here because it is FIU and they do have the roster that they have.
Yeah.
But Charlotte, La Tech, they have beaten conference opponents before.
Yeah.
And I'm just worried, right? That's all I'm saying. UTEP, I think you should.
Come on,
On
UTEP.
paper, this team should be good enough to put this game away and salt it away and play the game they want to play, right? Where you're not asking Gavin Hardison to go play
just
hero
run the ball. Yeah,
Just
play it safe, run the ball.
Because I'll tell you what, next week you're not going to be able to do that because you got UTSA. So this is the last time you got to play. You can play your game plan to a T and get it done.
Yeah.
Because if FIU takes you out of the picture, then you were never beating UTSA in the first place.
That's true.
No.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So that's my thing is. My only worry is that FIU also still has something to play for, and for a young program that has nothing to lose right now, if they stay at 4 wins throughout the year, who cares? They probably weren't expecting to go bowling anyway. So they're going to throw caution to the wind, and they're going to come out and try to knock off UTEP and end their bowl hopes in hopes of keeping theirs alive. So I think UTEP will get it done because this is the last opponent that you can play your game plan against. But a little worried. FIU's been a little bit friskier than I think people thought this year.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I think the things working in UTEP's advantage is they had an idle week last week.
Yes.
They were off. They played
week
zero, so they got their secondary bye. That'll really help, especially with the quarterback situation. Gavin Hardison left in the Rice game, so what that's going to look like there for quarterback. But I think defensively they're good enough to where they should, even if the offense struggles early to get back in rhythm, FIU can't get this one far enough away to get them out of their game plan.
Yep.
Even if they struggle the first quarter, even the second quarter, they're going to stay within touching distance. I think that's good news for UTEP.
Yep.
All right, let's close it all out with Texas State playing Arkansas State at home this Saturday at 4 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN3. Texas State coming in as 5.5-point favorites-ish.
Arkansas State's not good.
And the over-under is 51. Dude, they better win this game. There is nothing else to say, but they have got to win this game.
The Lane Hatcher Bowl.
Oh, God, you're right.
Yes.
And Lincoln Perry.
That's
Lincoln Perry,
right.
running back, too. Listen, the highlight here is that this is the 40th anniversary of the 1982 national title team. They will be having a reunion, so that's probably the one thing that's going to get whatever fans are in the stands there because that's something cool. So there you go. Because, both these teams are not good. Arkansas State is in a bad spot right now.
I'll be there.
You'll be there. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, you'll be there because you had to see a Texas State game that they could possibly win. So, so they'll be
playing this one well.
Yeah, exactly. So, two programs not in a great spot. I will say, for probably more negative on Arkansas State, Butch Jones cost a lot of money, so they're probably on the line for at least another couple of years with him. Texas State, you're still kind of playing for your coach's job at this point. You got no bowl. You can kind of start to tick. If you can get the 5 wins, cool. We're increasing the win total by a win every year. I don't know, man. It's in a weird spot right now, and this game is just kind of like it feels like a hangover kind of game, after last week seeming like the season ending more or less.
Is there anything that because you're an alum.
Sure.
All cards on the table.
Yep.
Ish is an alum, right, who cares more about Texas State than most people I know.
Yes.
Right. Is there anything that Jake Spavital can do? Like if Texas State wins the next 2 games, they win out.
Mm-hmm.
does he stay around? Like what? Like is this thing over, or is this something that can be salvaged?
I think if this was something, and this is kind of the confusion of, to me, the silence of the administration.
Right.
Because I think if this was a job that could be salvaged, they would have released a statement after last week.
Yeah.
Because we came into the season saying you got to get to a bowl, right?
Yeah.
You got to, whether you scrape there, you drag there, you claw there, whatever, you got to get to 6 wins. After that goal was unattainable, I think that's why we penciled the change happening after that. After that happens, I think you do need to stake your claim as an administration. You need to say, he's our guy, blah blah blah. Even if it's just to say he's our guy, and then you make a move at the end of the year. But at the time, you say he's our head coach, and you stick with him, right? Or if not, and you were probably gonna let him go, then let him go. In my opinion, because it's not fair to the staff that the interim staff, if you do fire him, or they got to try to game plan and motivate these guys that they're kind of unsure about. If it's not fair to the players who got to figure out what the hell they're doing with their future. Some of them, right, if they're going to stick around or not. It's not fair to the fan base who's trying to figure out what to be invested in. And so I think the mystery of it all has kind of been the most frustrating part. But to answer your question, I honestly don't see there being a way, unless he comes out and just 35-0, 35, like something that's not going to happen, right? like a blowout win, because they just haven't won games like that. A blowout win in the past 2 weeks, and the team looks crisp, and Lane Hatcher looks like a guy that he has not looked like all season. Like, I don't see it, because recruiting, again, we've talked about it, recruiting momentum's not there, right? The president that we were so happy about being gung-ho all of a sudden isn't tweeting about football as much. He's like, basketball's starting. It's like, I mean, to be honest, a lot of fans are too. Yeah. But he's tweeting a lot about the basketball teams and all that now. And so it's just like it's an odd air around the program right now. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a mystery. I don't think it's fair to be silent on it at all if you're Don Coryell or Kelly Damphus. I think you should have. They released a statement after a 40-point loss to Louisiana last year, right? Something unheard of. They got blown out, and some weird vague statement about believing in the coaching staff. Something like that, right? Yeah. That's all I'm asking for. So, the silence to me has kind of been the most frustrating part on behalf of the administration.
Seems like the silence is very loud.
It's right. The silence could be deafening in some cases, but it's also cool. Can you at least speak on that? Right? Everybody can kind of feel where the thing's going, but unless something happens or something's said, we can't speculate. We can't it's hard to get a thought together when you don't really know what's happening. So.
And then, of course, North Texas is idle this week because they played in week 0, and they get a second bye week before they take on the Owls of Rice.
Which in what could be a monster game.
I will be there
for both teams.
I will be there.
You want to talk about a vibe check game?
Yes.
Are the vibes good anywhere?
We're potentially talking about North Texas playing for a conference championship invite.
Mm-hmm.
Rice playing for a bowl.
And their head coach's job.
And possibly their head coach's job. I mean,
that's going to be so good. Yeah, I'll be there.
Talking around, there are some, talking around on the Rice's staff a little bit. They're like, yeah, we need that. We feel like we need that, right? We're not reporting anything. They could look at the progress they made, the Rice administration, and say, we're good to move this forward in the AAC. It's not for certain, right? Bowl game is certain.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bowl game kind of solidifies it.
Let's say it's 50-50 without it. It's 100-0 with it.
Yes,
and so you can close the book on any of that speculation and really settle in and not feel like you got to put your house up or something like that if you win another game.
Yep. That's it.
Whew.
That closes out week 12.
We don't want to start our week 13 preview already.
I was about to say
This is a good segue.
Mallory's face just.
I have stuff to do, Craven.
Sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
Mallory's face when you mentioned week 13, she was like, "Excuse me."
What do you mean? It's only week 12.
Yeah.